All right, so here we are, Goblin Paranormal with Rhode Island Paranormal. Eric here. What's your last name?
Gerard.
Gerard, or Scorpire.
Well, that's just a name I go by.
It's cool. Scorpire is cool. So, how long, can you tell the audience, how long you been into the paranormal for?
I've been into the paranormal since around, I would say 2005 is when I basically started getting involved and doing, looking for the other side, trying to figure it out.
What sparked your interest in the...
My interest was due to the fact that I had an experience in a cemetery. I had an apparition just appear in front of me, and then within seconds just totally disappeared. So it piqued my interest even more. Yeah.
So what cemetery was that?
Union Cemetery. It's actually right on this road.
And what materialized in front of you? Was it a woman,
It was a man. It was a man. He was standing behind a tombstone, and to this day I can see exactly what he looked like.
His profile?
It's still embedded in my mind, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Was he like an older...
He was an older man, balding man. He was wearing like a tank top, and he kind of looked like a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
And he was like a sepia tone, washed out of any color.
Oh, okay, but you could see through him? You knew he was...
I couldn't see through him, no.
He was actually fully materialized.
He fully materialized,
wow.
And it was as if he was a person, but just did not look natural with the surrounding.
Okay, so that was your first interest?
Pretty much, yeah.
Sparking it?
I grew up in a house that had activity, but it wasn't anything severe enough to see an apparition like that to get me more interested.
Right, okay. So, what was the first gadget that you acquired?
I would say it's probably just a recorder. That was probably the best thing I could get.
Like a voice recorder?
Yeah, and just start recording, try to capture voices on my recorder and whatnot.
Okay, so Rhode Island Paranormal, you guys are based out of Providence, Rhode Island.
Well, no, we were based out of Woonsocket, basically,
Woonsocket.
at the time.
Okay.
We live in North Smithfield now, but, we're just the Rhode Island area.
Okay. And how many guys do you have in your crew? Guys and girls?
Oh, geez. We have a crew of, I would say, somewhere around 11, 12.
Wow.
11, 12 people right now at the time. We're actually in the middle of recruiting more people, so that's probably why it's a little off with the numbers.
So what's the benefit behind making your crew bigger?
Well, there is a benefit, and then there's something that's not so great about it. But the fact of having a lot of people always helps when you go on an investigation, and a lot of people can't always attend the investigation. Then you have more backup to come in with you and stuff like that. But having a big team is also a disadvantage, because if you go into a home that is small, and then you don't want to be bringing in 12 or 15 people into a small little location, or if they don't want that many people involved.
It's kind of intimidating a little bit sometimes.
Correct,
yeah. What was your creepiest investigation? Most memorable?
Most memorable. I would say probably the Cumberland Monastery in Cumberland, Rhode Island. Yeah, there's a lot of activity that goes on there. There's been hauntings dating way back there, and they have the oldest veteran memorial in the United States is there. So that has a lot of history going on with it.
The oldest what? Say that again?
Veteran memorial.
Where is that? That's in the beginning, right? When you first drive in?
Yeah, well, no, you drive into the monastery, then it's located in the woods in the back.
It is? Mm-hmm. I've been there before with us.
It's an old grave where soldiers were ambushed by the Indians in the King Philip's War.
Oh, you're talking about that
Nine Men's Misery.
Oh, okay. That's the veterans thing you're talking about? Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so you acquired your first gadget, that was the voice recorder.
Correct.
What's your favorite gadget to play with?
I would say it's still a recorder, because I love capturing EVPs.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best ways to prove a paranormal existence in your home or wherever you're investigating, because it's hard to capture that stuff on film. So therefore, at least capturing someone's voice, you have recognition that something is going on.
What do you feel about, this is kind of a theory that scientists say, that it's your mind that shoots off signals and it records your own mind.
Right.
That could be an EVP explanation. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a possibility, but I think that's more of a long shot when you have more people experiencing it at the same time. Yeah. If you have a full team experiencing that, it kind of throws that out the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're always looking for a reason to disprove the paranormal. I mean, it's something that it's hard to prove. So therefore, you need extreme evidence to convince people of it.
So you would say, I mean, obviously, but I'm just going to ask you anyways, you are a full extreme believer of the paranormal.
100%.
100%, okay. There's no skepticism in your mind about it?
None at all.
Can you tell us why?
I can tell you why. Yes, it's because of what I have witnessed. I've witnessed items levitate.
You've seen that?
I've seen that.
Wow.
I've witnessed apparitions. I've captured a lot of EVPs, which are recordings of voices.
Yeah.
These voices are answering my questions, so therefore they're intelligent.
Yeah.
Numerous things that are not so easy to explain away. So being able to communicate with the other side to that extent kind of makes you feel like what you're doing is more validation than just going out ghost hunting and thinking you heard a noise.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned to us hanging out here about a story that's pretty intense, and Eric's been wanting to get this out to some people. Can you tell us about the dark entity and how it all began in your life? 10 years ago?
Roughly 10 years ago, yes. Trying to think how to
This is a long story.
It is a long story.
Yeah.
The apartment I moved into 10 years ago, it had some activity going on in it originally. There was nothing extreme at first. It was pretty much just hearing sounds in the night. Mm-hmm. But the more I would investigate, we'd find out there was others living there. We'd capture voices, and we'd start to see shadow movement, and some things would come up missing and placed somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And then we'd have to the point where things would start to physically move on their own in front of your eyes. You'd see things.
How
move.
often would that happen?
That wasn't too often. I mean, it was just a thing that it would be out of nowhere. And then, you knew you had something at that point, mm-hmm. Going on in the home. I didn't know we had anything in the home that was any more than maybe someone who had lived there before. I didn't expect anything like that up until I had a more extreme experience.
Do you know how old the house was?
Yes, the house was built in 1900 exactly.
So, pretty old.
Yeah.
Not the oldest, but
yeah,
that's old enough for
some time to it.
Yeah, for people to experience things for sure. Okay, yeah. So keep going with that. So
what ended up happening was we would investigate the house often, and we'd capture more things here and there, but nothing too extreme. Until one night, I ended up having relationship problems, and my girlfriend and I had split apart. She moved back to California, where she was from, and this was the first night I had ever spent alone in my house. I was dead asleep, and I would say roughly close to 3 a.m., which sounds cliche, but it's true. There was a massive thunderstorm going on outside, and I awoke to the sound of the lightning, just this thunder crashing. Mm. And the lightning went off, and there was a full figure of a woman sitting on my chest.
You were awake at this point.
I was dead awake. It woke me right out of my sleep. I look up, and she was sitting on my chest, and I could make out the whole outline of a woman, but I could not see any details in the face or anything like that. I just seen like long hair on it.
Like a black figure almost? Like a shadow?
Just a total black shadow figure.
Wow.
I immediately, tried to make sure, 100% I was awake.
Yeah.
Which I was. And at that moment, I grabbed her shoulder to try to push her off of me. And it was a solid form.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
When I pushed, I fell off the bed with her. And we both hit the floor. And she
hit the floor?
She hit the floor with me.
That's freaky.
Yeah,
wow.
As soon as I hit the floor, she completely vanished. I felt like somebody was in the house, like this was a person.
Right, yeah.
So I literally ran and, I grabbed the kitchen knife and I'm running around the house, checking every window, every door, every closet, and there was nobody in the house. And that was the first experience I had that was that extreme that I could not explain away whatsoever.
Right.
And what made the story even creepier is a day later, I had 3 scratch marks going down my back.
Wow.
That came out of nowhere, and I didn't even know they were there.
Now, when you say she was sitting on your chest, that's exactly what she was doing.
Right. I don't know what her intentions were. I don't know what she was attempting to do, but I could feel the weight of her on me. So she was a solid form.
And when you touched her, you felt skin, or you felt just...
No, I just felt a solid form. It's not. I couldn't describe the skin.
It happened too quickly.
Right.
You freaked right out.
Extremely fast, yes.
And so when it crashed, you woke up and you saw this figure on top of you. That's just how it happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've heard stories of, succubus and all that. Of course, I've read into a lot of that. So, I mean, hearing stories like that and learning about them, it makes you wonder if you experience something like that when it happens.
Well, that was the first thing that came to my mind when I heard that. It sounds like a succubus.
Right. After that had happened, I was dealing with some stuff. I was going through some bad situation in my life.
You were in a slump.
Yeah. And, I was attempting actually to get someone back into my life. And desperate times call for desperate measures.
Sure,
so I went through a bad time, and I started delving into certain things, and I was trying to get the person back through other means than just naturally by myself.
How much later was this that you started, were you in this slump? Was it a year later? Was it 2 weeks later? How long ago?
Well,
afterwards,
she appeared on top of me in 2015. It was October 2015. I would say within the month
is that
when I started.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was going through a rough patch at that point, but it got worse after that time. After the fact that she showed up on me, then I was going through a worse patch trying to get this woman back into my life, and I attempted to summon things that would do my bidding for me. That's basically what
yeah. And what happened?
Well, nothing happened at first. And
silent. It was just
so
everyday life.
It's one of those situations where you wonder at that point what you really believe. You know what I mean? And I think the stronger you believe, I think that's when the chances of something happening are stronger. And I think with what I was dealing with was something that wasn't going to help me immediately. It was waiting till I was in a good spot in my life to attempt to give me what I want.
Oh, yeah.
And then, at that point, ruin my life.
Of course.
I really didn't have any extreme experience after that until I met another couple, Satori and Cody. And that's kind of where another part of the story comes into.
Sure.
And, they showed us they have an ability to speak with the other side.
So these are just friends of yours?
Yes, okay. We met them through time, and they showed us this ability, and they were able to speak with the other side through communication of knocking. And what happened was they had come over one day, and we had found out that she was still in the house, this entity.
They felt her?
Through them trying to communicate with whatever was in the home, we were trying to see who was in the house with us. And she interfered coming in while we were trying to contact former owners or whatnot.
Sure.
And that's when she started showing that there was a possession that she, had to me. So we were able to find out that she was there. She had a fascination with me, which then we were able to find out that there was some sort of attachment she had on me. Which made me think of the story of the succubus even stronger. And then, of course, the proof of what they were doing, it was hard to deny any of this at that point. I knew I was dealing with something more supernatural. Whatever it's after is not good. It's trying to gain something from you and take your soul, take your form, whatever it's trying to attempt.
Doesn't it do that sexually too? Isn't that why it could have been on top of you?
Right, usually in the middle of the night while you're asleep. And
yeah, it doesn't sound too pleasant.
So I don't know exactly how many more times this had occurred. I mean, if I was asleep, having this happen to me and never woke up, therefore was something more going on that I didn't even know about. Right. You know what I mean? Which is kind of creeping itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's take a quick break and we'll come back with Eric.